What is pretotyping? In this first lesson, we'll cover what pretotyping is and where it came from, the difference between prototyping and pretotyping, and why data matters more than opinion. So what is pretotyping? It's not a word I invented. We can thank Alberto Savoia for a new buzzword, and we'll discover in a moment why this is necessary. Alberto was one of the early engineering directors at Google back in the day. He had a successful career at Google, then left to run his own company, and around 2007, Google called him back and said, "Help us figure out how to experiment at scale," which is how pretotyping was born. Alberto has been really successful in implementing pretotyping with companies around the world and is a much sought after speaker. Alberto also teaches pretotyping at Stanford University and has written a book called The Right It. I've been lucky enough to be working with him since 2015 to grow pretotyping and to help figure out how to do this at scale inside enterprises. So what is pretotyping? At a really high level, pretotyping is about building the right it. It's about finding out what the customer wants by testing and experimenting before you build something, so that by the time you come to build it, you've already validated it and you know it will work. Pretotyping asks and answers the question, how do you test hundreds or thousands of ideas in a matter of days or weeks for a few $100s instead of the way we currently do it, which is to overcommit hundreds of thousands of dollars and take months or years to get something out there that you're not even sure will work? And then there's the other obvious question. What's the difference between a prototype and a pretotype? The question that sits behind prototyping is, can we build this? And in this day and age, the answer is usually yes. Nowadays, you can practically make anything with enough time, money, and resources. The question pretotyping asks is, should we build this? Does anybody care? Pretotyping answers this question using experimentation, and the way we frame this is by asking, how do we test market demand for $0 in 24 hours? Now, can you do that? Probably not. But the point is to challenge yourself through this lens and imagine you have to test something tomorrow morning. So you need to take however long it currently takes you to test something and divide it in half and divide it again and again until you reach the shortest possible amount of time you need to get something in front of a customer. This is so that we can measure what they do with the product without actually building anything tangible, which is expensive and time consuming. What we're trying to get to with this process is data over opinion. We're trying to figure out and measure what people do with a product or service, rather than what they tell us. Pretotyping allows us to get skin in the game and gather data that will help us validate our idea, rather than using things like customer surveys, which simply measure opinion. So to summarize, pretotyping asks, should we build it, not can we build it? It's about meaningfully testing as many ideas as possible in a short space of time in order to get data, not opinions. In the next lesson, we'll dig further into pretotyping and see how it compares to the usual innovation processes we find in most companies and how we can use pretotyping to improve this process.